Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we are wrapping up the Gothic curriculum. And I got my spooky shirts on. By the time I post this, it will be right before Halloween. So let's get started. So I'm gonna start by let's go over what I said. Let's go over what the curriculum really was. So my objective was to better understand Gothic fiction, which I believe I achieved. My main focus was understanding what makes Gothic and broaden my reading, the tension, the power, the fear. My main focus is understanding what makes Gothic and broaden my reading. My goal was gain more knowledge and creativity for my own novels. I really do believe I did a lot of this. I think it's actually helping my writing, so I'm definitely going to continue these curriculums, and they will evolve and change. Most of the time when I do these curriculums, it will be for writing purposes, but I do have a curriculum in my brain that I'm going to do that is not for my writing. And I think that's okay to do sometimes. I want to do things that are helpful, but I am typically going to be doing this like writing based. Um, and it says what I was excited to learn was the horror, gothic, and how to scare readers on a page, which I think was achieved actually, but we'll talk about that in a second. How to create a gothic scene, and then I just wrote what I wanted to read. I did not finish a lot of these, a lot that I actually really wanted to. So maybe, I mean, I already kind of understand Gothic, I feel like enough now. Now we're going to go over the questions and what I found as my answer through my own discoveries. So I have, how does the setting create a Gothic novel? Well, I think the setting is usually dark, dreary, rainy, spooky, um, usually dark, like colors. A lot of them had like a dark mansion, or it had like a spooky mansion, Victorian homes. It was typically a beautiful home that ended up being gothic or scary in some type of way. It says, is the setting adding to it or is its own character? I kind of, is this on? I personally kind of feel like both, but I said definitely adding, but I think Gothic kind of can be its own character in some aspects. Are the supernatural elements real or fake? I would say for Gothic, they're typically real, at least for what I was reading. Not all of them though, like obviously I read some ghost stuff. I mean, I personally find ghosts real, but I guess you could say that they're not. I I think specifically it's the way they portrayed the ghosts in some of these. Like, I don't think ghosts are like that, but maybe I just personally haven't met a ghost that is like that. I love hearing ghost stories though. So if you guys have some, please write them down below. I would love to read those. Um, what psychological things does Gothic explore? And I feel like this one explored a lot more than I thought. I didn't think Gothic would have really a feeling, more of just like what it looked like. But I think out of everything I read, it had everything in common was anxiety and powerlessness. Okay, so those two, especially powerlessness, that one was huge. How do you how do different characters react to these powerlessness feelings? In my own books that I read or my own opinions, I honestly feel like it didn't matter on the gender. I think they all acted the same way. Honestly, out of the books I read, I didn't really have any they thems, but I had like some boys and girls. I think the girls handled it better in most of the situations. I think the dudes were like, "I'm out." The girls were like, "I'm sticking this out and I'm standing strong." Reoccurring symbols used I have, but I can't really think of any reoccurring symbols other than I guess if like a haunted mansion or like a big beautiful home is considered a symbol. I don't know. Are the endings oftenly solved? In the books I read, yeah, they were all solved. Some of them better than others. Some books that I will mention in here I didn't finish though, so I can't say for those books. So I have dark academia versus gothic. What is the difference? Dark academia is more of a subtype. It's like academically based with possible gothic themes. I think they're very very closely related. I kind of feel like dark academia kind of uses gothic themes, but dark academia is more, obviously there's some type of school. Um, Gothic versus horror. What is the difference? Gothic is the scenery of a book, while horror is a genre. Obviously, I don't know what I was expecting for Gothic, but I guess I in the beginning I was very confused about what really the difference was, but I definitely understand now. So I've I've learned some things. Um, yeah, Gothic is definitely a scenery, but I think that it, like the other question, it definitely kind of is its own character in a way at the same time. So I just have a couple notes here. It just says things like the setting was gloomy, dark, and spooky or fearful magic. The characters often have anxiety, which is mostly due to powerlessness. I also said Gothic is closely related to horror, while Dark Academia seems more romanticized in school kids. And then I just had a whole bunch of books that I just put some notes for. Okay, so I watched, I think, three TV shows that, so I have The Haunting Hill House, Bly Manor, and the Sabrina, which I still need to see. I'm sorry, I don't know. I know it's not the silly one, obviously. It's the spooky one. So I know you guys know what I'm talking about, but I don't know the exact title. It's not Sabrina the Teenage Witch. It's like this Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, I think it's called. So let's see. Okay, so let's start with the book one I have on here. We used to live here. I'm really sorry about this, but I don't know how to make the picture. I know there's a way to do it, but I can't figure it out. But it's We Used to Live Here by Marcus Gluer. I don't know how to say that. It was it, it definitely gave you a lot of anxiety, I think, reading it. Like you felt what the character was feeling. I didn't This was a DNF for me. I don't know why. I think the main character was kind of a little bit annoying. I did discuss this a little bit already, but I she I don't know. I think if Charlie was the main character, I would have been better at finishing it. Her powerlessness really took her, and she would not. She just, I don't know. And I really feel like she maybe was an interesting narrator. So I feel like what she saw maybe wasn't true, but I did watch a review on YouTube and I learned, and I think this is why I was kind of confused. And maybe if I kept reading it, I would have been understanding it more. But apparently, they were going back through timelines, and she got sucked into some kind of loop or something. I didn't get that far, so I didn't know about all that. But yeah, I guess letting him in sucked her into a loop, and that's why Charlie was different, and it wasn't the same Charlie she knew. Which I'm glad, because that Charlie was like not doing a good job being her wife. So yeah. Let's see what other books I got. Oh, the other one I did not finish, and this one I might read again because this one was not bad. I don't really know what. I don't know. I think like sometimes there's other books I want to read more, and this one wasn't interesting me enough to keep reading. And life is short. Anyway, I guess I got This is a Bigger Picture, Wayward by Amelia Amelia Hart. I've never actually seen that name, so I'm not sure how to say it. So this one was about three girls, and it went back and forth. And I probably will reread this one because it did interest me. It just didn't interest me enough to keep going, I guess. I think there was like more characters I wanted to see more than the other ones. I don't know. But obviously this was another gothic book I did not finish. And then I have A Study in Drowning. This one was the first gothic read I ever did. It is more dark academia based, but it has some gothic themes in it. This one was really good. Out of all of them, I actually cannot say this is no. I can't say this one is my favorite out of all the ones I read, even though it's one of my top favorite books. I know that doesn't make sense, but I'm just gonna show you that one probably last because that one took me out. I loved it and I highly recommend that one. I highly recommend this one too. This one I did not annotate. All my other ones are annotated. I might read some of the annotations. This one wasn't heavily gothic, but it was gothic because she was in a big home. It was a broken down, kind of spooky. She definitely had feelings of powerlessness and such like that. This one, I think the annotation I did looks really pretty. I wish I kind of like this is the most annotated book I've done so far. I'm still getting into annotations. My other ones don't really have too much, but I don't think I'm very good at reading and annotating sometimes because I sometimes you just get so endorsed into a book that I just don't really think about annotating at that time. Like I'm just like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? And I maybe if the book's more boring, it's harder for me. But I love this one, and I think I annotated it pretty well. This one I don't feel like was heavily gothic. Obviously, according to a search engine, maybe it was a very poor one that I used because it was Google. It said this was a modern Gothic, and the only thing I can think that would make this a modern Gothic, or I don't really know. I guess that's one thing I should have kind of studied is the difference between Gothic and modern Gothic. But the only thing I thought was Gothic in here was the attic that she stayed in, and she obviously did have feelings of powerlessness. But I think if I think about it, I think you could say that about most characters. Like unless it's a cozy book, maybe, but most books that have like dark things are going to be powerlessness of some kind because you got to grow through it, you know? Or what are you reading at that point? You're like, that person needs something to fight through. But it was really just the attic that was spooky. The rest of the mansion was pretty light, it wasn't dark. So, my next book was Nothing But Blackened Teeth. This one I did not like. I did annotate it. This one I would say medium. Probably as good as that one. This one was a smaller one, so obviously it's not going to have a lot of annotations. This one did not scare me. I did not like this one. I think it could have been better if the author made the characters like each other. I would have enjoyed that more. Maybe made more likable characters. I can't say exactly. It was just the characters were unlikable to me. They didn't even like each other. So how do you expect me to like the characters? Why are you even at this wedding if y'all don't like each other? Why did you invite these people to your wedding if you didn't like these people? It makes no sense. Now, this one is not at all considered a gothic, okay? But hear me out. I think it should be considered a gothic. I think it had gothic themes, in my own personal opinion. I hope my hair was covering my microphone. It was such a good book too. I really, really enjoyed this book. I'm definitely gonna have to buy this one. It it took me on a journey. It was the first like really like cozy witchy book I read. It was so good. Okay. Well, this one is called The X Hex. I know a lot of you probably read it by Aaron Sterling. This one was so good. It was so cute. I loved the characters. The side characters were standing out. This book was so good, and I personally felt like it had some good gothic themes because they were witches. They went into a spooky house that was definitely gothic. They even said in here, I don't know if I annotated it. Let me see if it'll let me find it. I might have to download it again. I'm not really sure how the annotations work on Libby, but like I said, I just started. But yeah, there was a part where they went to a spooky house, and I think it might have been a spooky mansion, but I don't know for sure. But I know for a fact it was a spooky house, and they even said it looked gothic. And so I'm saying this should count, okay? This should count on my gothic journey. And I partially read it for fun because I didn't it didn't say it was gothic, but I think it should be considered gothic, okay? And now it's so hard to pick a favorite book, but that one was really good. And now for my favorite book, the one I loved out of all of these, it was The September House. This one was so good. I did not annotate it too much because I was too busy reading this book. It was so good to me. I never read anything like this. It's the first book that actually spooked me, and I think that I kind of ruined it because I was reading it when they were going into the basement, and that's when I was scared when her and her husband were going into the basement and they were trying to find the thing in the basement. At the time, I don't know if they knew that it was Master Vale, but I was reading it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually scaring me. And so it kind of pulled me out of the scene, if that makes sense. So I had to re-go in. And I feel like because that happened and I had to re-go into the scene, it wasn't as spooky because I'm like, oh, this isn't real. But it was so, it actually did spook me. And I was just like, I had that scared feeling, if that makes sense. But I loved how the ghosts were. So well, I'll tell you the gothic part was obviously they're in a Victorian home. It was a beautiful home, had a lot of gothic fixtures and everything like that. It even had the spooky gothic is where it's really at. That was my spooky gothic. Count me in, sign me up. This was so good. I highly recommend. I loved that it was different. I think it's on here too. Just when you thought you'd seen everything in a haunted house, haunted house novel could do, this book comes along. I swear there was a shocking. Oh, here it is. Every once in a while, a story comes along that fully upends a genre in the most beautiful way, essentially reinventing the notion of what's possible within the genre. New author Carissa Orlando, a horror enthusiast, has written that very story. This book is a lot different than I think a lot of horror books. The ghosts talk to the lady, and at the end of the book, that's what really, really got me because they said, I don't want to give it away. Like, I don't know how to say things without giving it away because it was so good, but uh, it was so good, okay? And I actually really love that the ghost talked to her and she maneuvered to the ghost. She had ghost friends, and the ending was very, very, very climatic. It was highly recommend this book. Um, I already talked about most of these things. I think that's it for my books. But my challenge to myself, and I think that when you guys do curriculums with me or even on your own, sorry, that we should try to write like a short scene where we try to see if we really got exactly what we wanted out of it and make sure that we can write. Like for me, it's for my writing, which is the reason I'm doing this. But I wrote a short story and I'm going to read it aloud. And I want you guys to tell me if you feel like this really captured what we're trying to capture, and also let me know things that I could do to make it better. Because like I said, this is to help me better my writing, become better with my wordings and everything, and how to like really capture an image into your brain. So let me know. This video is actually ending up being a lot shorter than I thought. But this video is gonna be really long. Okay. The house in front of me was an old, broken Victorian house, a fixer-upper. The season was winter, with the trees bare and my skin cold. It definitely added to the atmosphere of this home, my home now. The outside of this property was black with massive windows. This place definitely left an eerie feeling in your gut. I almost wanted to leave, but this is where I stay now. I opened the door to the house and the inside was so much worse. The house was quiet, freezing, and filled with a dark antique view. Cobwebs surrounded every corner here. It covered the beautiful chandelier that hung in the living room. The walls rotted to the floor with the pungent, earthy smell and coats of onyx paint. The wood was dark and broken, looking as if it was decaying from beneath me. I heard scratches of mice underneath me. At least I hoped it was just mice. The stairs spiraled and led to a dark carpeted area that was stained in red paint, right? Yes, that had to be red paint. I entered the master bedroom that held an immense fireplace that was, of course, shattering down to pieces. Something in the wind whispered my name, so I turned around and found red eyes. The red eyes started towards me and I squealed, trying to run. My legs stood there frozen as the hooded character came closer.
I noticed he had long, clawed fingers that were reaching for me, and teeth that popped out onto his lips. He grabbed my neck, and my vision started blackening until I tumbled to the floor.
So I did my best. I'm not much of a gothic writer, but I think putting gothic themes into fantasy can kind of maybe be like pretty intense and cool. I'm specifically a fantasy writer. I don't really write much else. That's just what I personally am into. I do. I already have my next curriculum already picked out, but I'm definitely gonna start that with you guys the next Monday. I hope you enjoyed this first curriculum with me. This was a great journey for me. I actually learned a lot. I really enjoyed it. I feel like it put a lot of value into my life, a lot of value into my channel, hopefully into your lives as well. I know I don't have too many followers yet, but hopefully, you know, you guys still enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. Bye.